too bad. It's more convenient, yes. But you should start, introduce me, and, okay.
Boa noite a todos. Então sejam bem-vindos à palestra que assistiremos. Ela está intitulada como Free Software and Your Freedom, Software Livre e Sua Liberdade, com o Sr. Richard Stallman, fundador do movimento Software Livre e responsável pelo desenvolvimento do sistema operacional GNU Linux. Richard Stallman, fundador do movimento Software Livre e responsável pelo desenvolvimento do sistema operacional GNU Linux, é ativista em prol do software livre, contra as patentes de informática e por leis menos restritivas de direitos autorais. Com formação em física pela Universidade de Harvard, atuou no Laboratório de Inteligência Artificial do Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Possui 8 títulos de doutor honoris causa. Criou o conceito de copyleft, esquerda autoral, e a licença GNU, General Public License, a mais usada em softwares livres. O nosso palestrante, ele responderá às questões que porventura existirem ao final da sua palestra, e ele autorizou a bater fotos dele desde que ninguém as poste no Facebook. Com a palavra então, Richard Stallman.
Hello? Is this working? Please raise your hands if you cannot hear me. Uh-oh, there are hands going up. That means there's an anomaly in logic and the universe is about to disappear. So, in the little time we have before the universe self-destructs, I'd like to explain first why you shouldn't put photos of me in Facebook. Facebook is a surveillance engine. If you put a photo of somebody in Facebook, Facebook asks people to give the name of whoever appears in that photo. And that way, Facebook gets more data about that person. Now, I don't think you should treat your friends that way. I don't think that's very friendly. But it's not my business how you treat your friends. It is my concern how you treat me. So please don't put any photos of me in Facebook. And by the way, I'm also disgusted with other kinds of surveillance. They wanted me to stay in a hotel tonight. But if I stayed in a hotel, they would demand my passport number to send to the police. Well, that's a disgusting way to treat someone. Fortunately, I found someone I could stay with, which is much nicer anyway. But above all, it avoids making me a victim of this state surveillance. You should be just as angry every time they do it to you. And if you make an audio or video recording and you want to distribute copies, please distribute them only in the formats favorable to free software. That means the OGG formats, OGG formats, and WebM. Don't use MP3, don't use MPEG-2, MPEG-4, Real Player, QuickTime, and certainly don't use Flash. It's very bad for websites to use Flash. And on the copies, please place the license Creative Commons No Derivatives, because this talk is a statement of my personal views. So, what is free software? Free software is software that respects your freedom and your community. So, it's a matter of freedom, not price. In English, when I say free software, it could mean libre or gratis, but it means libre. So think of free speech, not free beer. When a program is not free, we call it proprietary, non-free, user-subjugating software. Because a non-free program is a kind of digital colonization. And like any colonial system, it keeps the victims divided and helpless. They are divided because they're forbidden to redistribute it, and they're helpless because they don't have the source code, so they can't change it. They can't even study to find out what it's really doing to them. And often it's doing something nasty that you wouldn't like if you knew about it. But it's a secret. So, in order for software to be ethical, it must be distributed as free software. But what I've said is very general. It respects your freedom and community. What does that mean? I had better be more specific. A program is free software when you get it, if it comes with and gives you the 4 essential freedoms. Freedom 0 is the freedom to run the program as you wish. Freedom 1 is the freedom to study the source code and change it so it does your computing as you wish. Freedom 2 is the freedom to help others. That's the freedom to redistribute exact copies to others when you wish. And freedom 3 is the freedom to contribute to your community. That's the freedom to make and distribute copies of your modified versions when you wish. So if the program comes with these 4 freedoms adequately, then it's free software, because the social system of distributing and using this program is an ethical one, which respects freedom and community. But if one of these freedoms is missing or insufficient, then the program is proprietary software because it imposes an unethical social system on its users. In order for these freedoms to be adequate, I see it's the projector. Well, I'll stand here. Then it won't be shining in my eye. In order for these freedoms to be adequate, they must apply to all activities in life, including business. But none of them is a requirement. The point is you're free to do these things if you wish. Thus, with freedom 0, you're free to run the program as you wish. But it's not required. If you are a masochist, you can run it as you don't wish. And you're also free not to run it at all. With freedom 1, you're free to study and change the source code, but it's not required. You can get the program and run it without looking at anything, if that's what you prefer. With freedom 2, you can make exact copies and distribute them, but it's not required. We don't say you must give someone a copy or sell someone a copy. You can do it if you want to. And with freedom 3, if you have made a modified version, you are free to distribute copies of that. But it's not required. You can use your program privately, your version privately. So, as you can see, the distinction between free and proprietary software is not a technical distinction. It's not about what features the program has. It's not about how the code works. It's also not about how the code was written. Those are all technical issues. This is an ethical, social, and political issue, which is why it's so important. The use in society of free software is development, because a program embodies knowledge, and in the case of free software, that knowledge is available to the users to understand. Then they can maintain, adapt, and extend the program, and they can also use this knowledge in other ways. But the use of a proprietary program in society is not development, because it's dependence. Imposed dependence on a particular entity, the developer. And that is a social problem. So if we see people using a proprietary program, we should try to convince them or help them to stop. And we should certainly never encourage anybody to run a proprietary program. Well, just 20 minutes ago, somebody suggested to me that I should use Skype. That's a proprietary program. Of course, I don't have it on my computer, but I won't consider using that even on somebody else's computer, because if I did, I'd be encouraging someone at the other end to use Skype. I'd be hurting other people. So I won't even use it for a minute on your computer. To write a free program is a contribution to society. How much? That depends on the details, of course. A lousy little program that does very little and doesn't do it very well, that's not much of a contribution. The point is, if the program is free, then it's distributed in a way that permits it to contribute whatever it has to offer. But writing a proprietary program is no contribution at all, because that's an attack against society. It's a power grab. It's an attempt to subjugate other people. In social terms, the program is attractive. If it has attractive features, those are the bait for the trap. So paradoxically, they don't make it better. Rather, they make it more harmful. So if you have the choice to write a proprietary program or do nothing at all, you should do nothing at all, because that way you don't do harm to society. Of course, in real life, you probably have other choices, perhaps better than both of these. But if it's just a matter of these two choices, to be ethical, you should do nothing. At least don't do harm to society. Thus, the objective of the free software movement is that all programs be free, so that all their users can be free. But what makes these four freedoms essential? Why define free software this way? Each freedom has a reason. Freedom 2, the freedom to redistribute exact copies when you wish, is essential on fundamental moral grounds. So you can live an ethical, upright life as a good member of your community. If you use a program without freedom 2, you are in danger of falling into a moral dilemma at any moment whenever your good friend says, "This program looks nice, could I have a copy?" What will you do then? You will have to choose between two evils. One evil is to give your good friend a copy and violate the license of the program. The other evil is to refuse your good friend a copy and comply with the license of the program. if you are in this dilemma, you ought to choose the lesser evil, which is to give your good friend a copy and violate the license of the program. Why is this the lesser evil? In general, if you can't avoid doing wrong to somebody or other, it's less bad if you do wrong to somebody who deserves it because he's done wrong. Now, we can assume that your good friend is a good member of your community and normally deserves your cooperation. That's usually true. But the developer of the proprietary program has deliberately attacked the social solidarity of your community, which is acting very bad. So, if you have to do wrong to your friend or the developer, do it to the developer. But being the lesser evil does not mean it's good. It's never good to make an agreement and then break it. Not even an evil agreement like this one. Yes, keeping the agreement is worse than breaking it, but breaking it still doesn't reach the level of being good. It's just less bad. And if you give your good friend a copy, what will she have? She will have an unauthorized copy of a proprietary program, and that's a nasty thing. Almost as nasty as an authorized copy of the same program. It's nasty because it's proprietary. So, when you have fully understood this issue, what should you really do? You should make sure you don't fall into the dilemma. I know two ways to avoid it. One is, don't have any friends. That's the future the proprietary developers have in mind for you. No real friends. You could have Facebook friends instead. The other method, my method, is reject that program. Don't have a copy. Then you can't fall into the dilemma. If someone offers me a program without freedom to, no matter how convenient, I say, my conscience does not permit me to accept your conditions, so take your nasty program out of here. I won't use it. That's what you should say also. And in addition, we should all reject the propaganda terms that the proprietary developers use to demonize cooperation and sharing. Terms like pirate. When they call people who share pirates, what are they really saying? They're saying that helping other people is the moral equivalent of attacking ships. In moral terms, that's as false as could be, because attacking ships is very bad, but sharing is good. So let's not call them by the same name, how about? Thus, I refuse to call sharing, quote, piracy, unquote. When people ask me what I think of piracy, I say attacking ships is very bad. If they ask me what I think of movie piracy, I say, well, I like the first Pirates of the Caribbean. I didn't like the second one because it had a parrot that was mean. And I like parrots, so I didn't like that. So you get the picture. Don't use enemy propaganda terms because someone else did. Be on guard. So this is the reason for freedom too. The freedom to redistribute exact copies when you wish. The freedom to help others. Essential on basic moral grounds. Freedom 0, to run the program as you wish, is essential so you can control your computing. Every user deserves to control his computing. But there are proprietary programs whose licenses restrict even the use of authorized copies. For instance, there's a proprietary program for managing websites whose license forbids using it to publish anything that criticizes the program's developer. In this case, proprietary software literally denies freedom of speech. Obviously, if you can't freely run the copy that's there for you to run it, you don't control your computing. So freedom zero is essential. But it's not enough, because that's the freedom to either do or not do whatever the code of the program is already set up to let you do, which means the developer continues imposing his decisions on you, not through a license if you have freedom zero, but instead through the code of the program. So in order to have control of your computing, you need freedom one, the freedom to study and change the source code to make the program do computing as you wish. That way you can decide instead of him. In fact, if you don't have freedom zero, you can't even tell what the program does. And many non-free programs have malicious features designed to do things the users wouldn't like if they knew. For instance, they spy on the user. They intentionally restrict the user, and there are even backdoors which receive commands sent remotely and do things to the user without asking the user's permission. And these are present in the most commonly used non-free programs. This is not a rare danger. This is the usual case. Most people who use proprietary software are using programs with malicious features. For instance, one proprietary package that has all three kinds of malicious features that you might have heard of is called Microsoft Windows. People have found spy features in Windows. The features to restrict the users, those you can see because you try to do something and it doesn't let you. These features are known as digital handcuffs, or DRM, Digital Restrictions Management. The backdoors are not easy to spot, but people have discovered backdoors in Windows. So Windows is malware. Any program with malicious features is malware. It's designed to hurt the people using it. But it's worse than that. In fact, one backdoor in Windows allows Microsoft to remotely install changes without asking permission of the nominal owner of the computer. This means that any malicious feature which is not present in Windows today could be remotely installed tomorrow. So Windows is universal malware. This kind of backdoor is known as a universal backdoor because it could do anything. So Windows is malware, but it's not unique. The Macintosh system is also malware because it has digital handcuffs. The newer Apple products, the iThings, are nastier. People have found spy features, and there's a backdoor. But what's really so bad about them is they have the tightest digital handcuffs ever. Apple is the pioneer in designing products that are jails for the user. They're designed to restrict more than ever before in a general purpose computer. Because Apple has taken control even over the installation of applications. Users are not free to install whatever applications they wish. They can only install applications approved by Apple. In other words, censorship. When users find ways to defeat this, they call it